Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about the Siege of the Atlas Archnemesis expansion slash league, like challenge league. My experience with it now, since we are like day number 9, so a bit over a week now, and I want to give you guys my first impression. What do I like? What do I dislike a little bit? And those kind of things. So first of all, let's start off with the complete Atlas revamp. And oh boy, I think this is actually really good. So in the old version with the Atlas regions kind of things, you know, it was a little bit more complex, I would say. A lot of people had troubles getting their watchstones, getting all these kind of things in. And I think with a new system where we just have a straight Atlas going from bottom to top, going low tier into high tier, is like a much better approach, and it just shows that easier is sometimes a lot better. It also gives us now the opportunity to just really have control over our Path of Exile game about what maps do I want to farm, what strategies do I want to follow with this whole new Atlas tree. And I think this overall approach is really good. I'm having a lot of fun just mapping in this league because, yeah, I'm a map kind of type of player, basically, and I really enjoyed just to alch and go my maps and then just profit off the Atlas system, basically. Just choosing whatever rewards I want to farm on, if it's essences, if it's strong boxes, if I just enjoy a league mechanic more than others. For example, I don't like Blight, to be honest, so I just don't skill Blight. And if I like Ritual, for example, I just take all the Ritual nodes and I will have better perks doing the league mechanic that I enjoy as if I wouldn't skill them, and they're more common. So I really feel like I have the control over how I want to approach Path of Exile, and I think this is a really good thing. From the map sustain part, this is a little bit weird. So thinking back about the league start, before acquiring any watchstones, you know, that drop from endgame bosses like Maven, like the Searing Exarch, the Eater of Worlds, and Uber Elder, I feel like I had a really good time. I think it was quite easy. I always had maps to run, especially when you go into the additional map kind of things in the Atlas tree, where maps have a chance to drop higher, or like other sources where we get duplicated map drops and so on. And I think like I always had maps to run, like straight from the bottom to the top. It was a super easy breeze. I did buy some maps, but it was just because I just wanted to have this Atlas completed as fast as possible. But I think it wouldn't be any big issue doing it without. Probably takes 1 day longer because you're more based around map RNG and you have to run connected maps and stuff. Although, something that I did end up encountering was I unlocked all the 12 favorite map slots, right? And my plan was to just play Burial Chambers and do it the good old times way and farm Doctor cards. So what I encountered is, as soon as I put all my 12 favorite map slots as Burial Chambers, putting in the 4 Void Stones, I did not drop any maps anymore. And when I say I did not drop any maps, I mean, in the start, I was like, okay, as soon as I got my 4 Void Stones, I probably can unspec all of the map like additional map, higher map tiers and so on from my Atlas passive tree. I ran like 4 maps. I mean, I know this is not a big sample size here, right? But I'm just talking about it randomly. I ran 4 maps with Scarabs, with that being like any kind of like map juicer Scarabs, you know. So no cartographers, but I did also use Sextant. So my maps were bit juiced, right? And I did not drop any maps. And I was like curious. I was like, how is it possible that I run 4 juiced maps with 4 Voidstones, with Sextants, with Scarabs and everything, and I did not drop a single map? I'm not talking about I did not drop my favorite map. I did not drop any map. And then people said you have to use all those like map enhancing things on the Atlas to even be able to drop maps, which was a little bit weird. But then I did it. I spec'd on all the 4 regions, basically, where I get additional map sustain. And I still didn't drop maps. And then I started to buy cartographer Scarabs, and out of like 9 or 10 maps that I ran, I dropped 1 single map. 1 map, and this was actually a reward from the Delirium Mirror, because the last one that I got was like 1 stack of maps basically, and this was the only map that I found. Obviously, like 10 maps is not a sample size, but I feel it's kind of awkward if I just want to alch and go and I just want to randomly map, then I have to like juice my maps with Scarabs, with cartographer Scarabs, to even be able to drop any maps. Some people encountered this the exact same way as I do. They just have so hard, like mega troubles getting any maps, and we're not talking about getting the actual favorite maps. And other people say they drop like 10 maps every single time. But a lot of people don't run 4 Void Stones. Like, you have to think about, once you have the 4 Void Stones in, you have 117 T16 maps. So maybe this is something based on the how maps drop, you know, with like the same tier, the connected map, magic or like rare packs drop 1 tier higher, bosses can drop 2 tiers higher. So maybe there is some issues right there when I run a tier 60 map and the boss kind of like drops 2 tier higher and then it gets discarded because there is no tier 80 map, for example. There could be a lot of things, but it was like super awkward that I didn't find any maps. I'm going to start mapping today on my new character, and I'm gonna see if I was just super unlucky or if something else is like kind of buggy or something that doesn't work as it should be. Good. That's like a lot of like super positive things about this entire atlas. Just this map sustain thing is a little bit awkward right now. As I said, maybe I'm just doing something wrong, but if I do it wrong, then I guess many people or many other players do it wrong too. Good, let's talk about the new endgame bosses, which is the Searing Exarch, what is it, the Eater of Worlds, the Black Star, and I forgot the last one, doesn't matter. I think they were a little bit underwhelming. I think that the boss fights itself were actually crazy. Like all of the kind of scenery, the mechanics and stuff like that are pretty cool. Like, most of them are just straight up one-shot mechanics that you have to avoid, right? But considering that I've cleared the entire atlas with all the favorite map slots, like all endgame bosses, Uber, Elder, Maven, whatnot, on day 3 with my league started that roughly had like, I don't know, 5x investment or something, where I was like, if I remember back, our first Cyrus was brutal. Okay, I mean, it was kind of buggy back in the days, but still it was brutal. And then we're not talking about an Awakener 8, we're talking about a Cyrus Awakener 5 or whatever when it procced the first time, right? When I compare it to Maven, Maven is still hard, even up to this day. If you don't bring like, I don't know, 30 mil DPS or something, it can get quite rough on the Maven fight, even now, you know? And then compared to the Searing Exarch and the Eater of Worlds, where I'm like, if you're able to just dodge this like one-shot mechanics, it's not really hard. Also, the small bosses with the poison one, I don't have too much experience because I only fought him once and it was like kind of weird. But the other dude, the fire one, it's literally, if he does the frost storm, you stand in the fire part of the map, and if he does like his laser beam, you just stand in the cold side. And that's pretty much all you kind of have to do, at least for my part, with not knowing too much of the mechanics. This is the one that I figured out, and since then I think I haven't died to this boss anymore, and this with like kind of budget characters. So I feel like in that case they're a little bit underwhelming. They could have been a lot harder when it comes to that, and yeah, this is pretty much what I have to say about those. When it comes to the new crafting options, so I did not craft any new of the items yet with the Eldritch Implicit or the Searing Exarch influence and stuff like that. I did not bother with them any as of right now, because I think I have other things to fix on my build first before I go for like this endgame crafting. But I found out that like a lot of these modifiers do come from influence modifiers. So yes, I still think that influence modifiers are strong, like stronger actually, but there is one big difference. Let's say you have like a very good pair of I don't know, like any item, you know, you have 6 stats on it, 3 prefix, 3 suffix. If you do like endgame crafting and you would like Awakener Orb to influence modifiers together and then start crafting the item, you basically have your 2 influence and you have 4 mods on your item, which that can be life, resistance, whatever you want to do, right? And when it comes to this like new Eldritch modifiers, it's like a lot crazier. Yes, maybe some of the modifiers are a little bit more underwhelming, or at least not as strong. There are some that are actually stronger than the influence modifiers, but most are like a little bit weaker, I would say, or in the terms how your item could be in the end game version compared to like Maven Orb crafted items. But you have to think about, you add implicits. You add 2 implicits that you can freely choose based on your build. You could go with like Ignite Proliferation or like whatever you want to do. But then you still have your 6 modifiers left on your item, which makes it an 8 modded item. So basically, even though maybe the 2 the 2 implicits that you can add are not as insane, still like really good. You still have 2 full extra stats, and this will probably outweigh the current crafting things unless you need something that is mandatory for your build that comes from an influence. I don't know, for example, like if you play like power charge stacking Badge of the Brotherhood, you probably want to get frenzy charge on hit. I don't know if frenzy charge on hit is actually obtainable with the new crafting options. If not, I think you would still rather go with the classic influence modifiers, because in one hand, you want to balance it out. You know, you don't like GGG's plan is not to like introduce a new thing and everybody will use it, right? Of course, there's a lot of good things, but you just want to throw in the new things in a pool to make everything the same, more or less, right? For example, if I compare like league mechanics, right? Even like I personally still like to run Delph. Delph was like in 3.4, that's like 13 leagues ago, it's a couple years ago. And I don't feel a lot weaker. I mean, now with all the Atlas passives, it's probably a little bit weaker, but you can still run all the old league mechanics and still make a fortune out of that. It's not like you have to run the newest one to get the most currency. You still can pick whatever you want. This is kind of the same with the crafting thing. I don't think that GGG's plan is to only let us use these new implicits. They want to just add those as an addition to all the crafting things with the Awakener Orb, influence crafting and stuff like that, or synthesize spaces. And I think this is like very, very good. What GGG does very, very well on this part. Good, we talked about the Atlas changes, the new crafting options. What else is to say? Yeah, Archnemesis League. I'm not the biggest fan of Archnemesis. I think in some cases it's too complex, or at least it takes too long to get like really good recipes, which is still fine, you know, don't get me wrong. But in the overall sense of this whole expansion, you have to think about, even though if you don't like the league mechanic, or you're not that engaged to the league mechanic as I am, for example, we still have this entire new endgame system crafting. It's all in once, you have to see it like that. For example, I think when Cyrus and the Conquerors came out, there was Metamorph League. Metamorph is not like the craziest kind of league mechanic either, but this entire package was like insane with all the Conquerors and Cyrus and Awakener Orbs, and like I think it was also the introduction of Awaken Gems back in the days. So it's like the overall package was really great, and I see it exactly the same here in the Archnemesis League. Even though I'm not like that hyped about the league mechanic, I still use it, but I just randomly pop them in whatever highlights. I'm just gonna combine and take whatever it gives me. So you can still make a lot of currency if you understand this properly, if you know how to like get your recipes together into like the T4 or T5 modifiers or something. It's surely gonna be insane, but I'm just not bothered too much with it. With the buffs of like hand casting and stuff like that, I think it's too early to say it in this way, that you say like, okay, what's gonna be the meta and something like that. I feel like a lot of people are playing different things, and this is something that I really enjoy. I don't like these leagues where you have like 2 or 3 builds that are just like 10 times stronger than anything else you can play, and this is the meta, and every item you want to buy for these builds is like unpayable, more or less, and the rest is just gonna play whatever is left, basically, right? And I feel like if we go to PU Ninja and check like what builds, of course there's some kind of like meta right now because it's league start and people like to play those league start builds. For example, like Skelly Mages is very popular right now. You have like the Explosive Era Ballista is pretty popular, but these are still like from the league start, and I think in a week or two we're gonna see a complete different contrast in all of these like builds, basically on the build diversity at all. And lastly, I want to talk about this Atlas strategies, which is like super cool. So we talk about the Atlas passives now, which I kind of talked a little bit about it, but it seems like there is no perfect option, which is good. I mean, this was one of the earliest videos that I've done when people started to upload the best, undisputed best Atlas strategy, this best, you know, follow the meta. But in the end of the day, I instantly said like, this is so great because you can literally pick whatever you enjoy. So there is no perfect tree. If you like, kind of meta right now is like this delirium farming on a strand map, and you go like delirium beyond kind of things, you know, with a little bit of influence of the Searing Exarch because it's on the left top side. This is a bit of a meta, I would say. But it still doesn't mean that you have to do that, and if you don't like delirium, then it's not the best for you. It's probably the best for others, right? But overall, I think that there is a lot of people what I follow here on streams and YouTube videos and stuff, and everybody tries to take a different approach to this entire thing. And this is like a crazy good thing that there is no best thing. There is no like super overpowered currency generator in the entire tree that everybody has to use, because otherwise you're just not gonna make currency. You can freely pick whatever map you're gonna run, whatever stuff you want to grind, basically based on your Atlas system, whatever league mechanic you enjoy, whatever you enjoy, just go for it and you'll be fine. And I think this is very, very good. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.